Hey, Carol.
Stuart,
Whew.
hello. Oh,
Right,
just finished dinner. How did it
yay.
go? How did it go? I can't hear me. Can you hear me, Stuart?
I'm picking Stuart up on my headphones, which is crazy, which means I'm picking him up from here.
Yeah, and I'm not hearing anything.
Good evening, everyone. With the wonders of technology, we've had a theme change all within a couple of minutes. Welcome to All Gathered Up. You know what I'm going to say. It's the show that goes into detail of all the techniques, skills, and things that come up on the Great British Sewing Bee every week. And we do that because, as you know, we've got way more time than they have. They don't have long at all, but we have loads of time to go into that bit more detail. And yes, we do it because we have Carol Elaine, Master Tailor Couturier, with us. Good evening, Carol. Good to see you.
Hello, Stuart. How goes? I like your attire this evening.
I thought it had to be done. I know we've seen this already, but I know the Unpicked viewers didn't. But yes, you know what it's like. The sewing bee, and many people in the chat have said this, the sewing bee is so inspirational. And I know we get frustrated with it, but it is still inspirational. So yes, reduce, reuse, recycle week. I got my tablecloth out and turned it into a shirt. Yes, and I had fun where to put all my pattern placements and everything, but I had way more than 90 minutes to do this. I had 5 weeks.
Yeah, and let's start by saying, Stuart, let's just get the, it's not just a tablecloth, is it? That is an extraordinary bit of lacework and motif, and you've done beautifully with it. You know, you put everything, you know, placement was key, and you even dyed it. You dyed the fabric, and so it's really special garment. It's beautifully done.
I've loved it, and I know you know when you've made something that you really, really like. This is definitely the best thing I've made, and I've done loads of patchwork and knitted jumpers and everything. But thrilled, and that is down to you, Carol, for non-stop passing. And that sounds a bit gushy now, but do you know it is? You week in, you come in and give up your time to do our show every year and to impart knowledge. All free because you love it. And I think our viewers clearly know that. They know I love it. The teacher, the ex-teacher in me wants to learn and learn new skills and to develop. And that's because of you and because of the Sewing Bee program, but because of you being enabling us to go into more detail, to perfect those skills. Like French darts, that's going to come up today. Well, I know no demo audience because it's the final, but week in you give up your time. And I know this season we've trialed it with our new technology where you do your demo live. And I know sometimes the camera hasn't done well or the internet. If it buffers today, everyone in the chat, you might want to refresh your browser. But we've managed to do it, and many people have commented on last video how much they've learned because of you. So thank you.
Oh, how nice. And it's given all of us a taste of what it's like to be in that workroom, isn't it? Because it's live and the camera's over your shoulder, the red light's on. So, and I've got a taste of that as well. I don't have, well, sometimes people come in and watch and film and whatever, but generally in my day-to-day work, I don't have that pressure. So it's given us all a taste of what that must be like.
And also, I think, no, you've said this before, you're on your own a lot in the sewing room, aren't you? So this has been a wonderful way to bring the community together and to share ideas, to share techniques. And many people in the chat have said, when they've heard you say, this is how you do this, they're like, I've been sewing for 30 years and I never have done it that way and have learned a new way. So it's, you know, that it's grown our community and brought also everyone together. So many good things.
Really. And I love the comments. And some of them are like that. They're based on, well, I've been sewing for so many years and I've always done it this way. And it's nice to, I mean, this is a skill. This is a life skill where you keep learning. And I'm still learning. And you find your own way. And that way might change. So you might think, this is how I put in an invisible zip, or this is how I understitch a neckline. But wait a minute, I've learned this now. So I think because the fabric is different or the situation is different, I might try another method. And so it's good to have, you know, other people's opinions in the mix, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And I like that. I like that whole idea.
Yeah, and speaking of opinions, we've got the live chat. So welcome if you've joined us for the live chat. There is something special about doing it live. I know many of you have come over from Unpicked. This is a lot more chilled though, because we haven't got a strict hour. So if it happens to go over 10 past 10 or 20 past 10 because we're enjoying the conversation, then it can, because there's no time limit. But chat away in the comments. We'll try and go through, you know, the show. We won't have a demo, but we can still talk about things, and we'll go through the 3 rounds and celebrate the sowers and what they've created, and also celebrate the winner. By all means, chat away. As we've said at the beginning, keep it positive. There are community guidelines for YouTube. You can see Mike in the chat. You can see his blue spanner. I never learned to sew. Carol's other half. So he's moderating the chat. But we've said this all year. In fact, over the last couple of years, Carol, our community are very respectful of the sewers when they comment. And they're also very respectful of learning and critiquing. So it's great to have opinions. It's great to share those opinions, but there is a way of delivering that opinion and analysing it and wording it. So all we would just say is just think about that before you comment. But please, that's the point, isn't it? Discussion. Have a discussion about what you did like and what you didn't like. Because not everyone can like everything, can they, Carol?
Well, that's true enough. And I think the one frustration with the change in the sewing bee for me, as you know, and this is why we put this show together, was because we were hearing some comments that weren't exactly charitable and didn't really relate to what had gone wrong or had gone right. And what we wanted to do together was to increase the vocabulary so we could say it's not a bad job. It could have been better if this would have happened, or this went wrong and that led to that. So, and we're calling things by their right names. And that, to me, is a much better way of helping people, helping them to improve, and helping to keep the dialogue civilized and well, related to the sewing instead of emotion, because it can get frustrating. You want somebody to do better for reasons. You think maybe the order of judging should have come out different. But if we can talk about it clearly, and with the right terms, then I think, it's a much better way to communicate, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. And it takes me back to my teaching days. I was saying it on Unpicked earlier. You have to teach evaluation all the time because the students are assessed on it. So even year 7 students, we create some drama, we watch it back. But when they watch it back, they have to critique it because it's a life skill as well, critiquing. But you teach them ways, and the classic ones were, as you just said, even better if. It would be better if you had perhaps used this. And especially if you're analysing a technique or you having to tell a story, well, it would have been even better if you'd used the technique flashback to have developed the storyline. And that's when you think, oh, yes. And that's when sometimes you can get light bulb moments, can't you? You go, I never thought about that. Like my shirt, we talked about this last week, didn't we? I love it, but it could be even better if I had used light interfacing on my button band.
Yeah.
Can you see? It's a bit too firm, isn't it? Just a little bit. Then heavy.
That's it. Yeah.
But I can accept that criticism and go, do you know what? And go, yes. So next time I do it, so that it's just knowing those techniques, isn't it? And what went well, went well because of this and because of this technique and such and such. I know they don't have time for that on the Sewing Bee, but then we do. That's the whole point of our show. So welcome along.
Precisely.
So let's go into it then. I've got some, I know some of the other viewers have seen this, but I know you might be interested in this. Let's look at the stats of the rounds that we've had before. If you've come from Unpicked, I know you've seen this, but we still love talking about it too. I'm just going to change my screen here. So let's go to in alphabetical order. There's Asthma's stats. Would you believe, Carol? Because sometimes I don't, we watch week in and week out and we don't really remember. But Asthma won the pattern challenge 5 times, won the transformation 3 times, and garment of the week 3 times. impressive, isn't it?
I mean, it seemed like every series, I mean, every show in this series, they were applauding Asma for something. Every single show. So I'm not surprised. I didn't know it accumulated that much, but
I know.
that doesn't come
I
as a
know.
surprise
Well, that's the
to
thing,
me at
because
all.
over 10 weeks, and not everyone's writing it down, only me, the geeky one with my whole book of things. But it's not until you look back on it, you go, oh, wow, yes. Mia... Now, this is going to look really unfair against it, but Mia, pattern challenge was, though that can be updated because she obviously won the pattern challenge for the final. So actually, that needs to be
She
one.
did. That's
So
right.
let's put.
She did.
Where's my pen?
Get your magic pen out, Stuart.
I know. Right, where's my pen? What have I done? Oh, perhaps my pen's run out of batteries. Oh no, how shocking. It's done too much work. I'll have to put it on charge. But yes, so Mia's won the pattern challenge once, transformation challenge, and garment of the week twice. And then Tony Beanie,
okay.
who we always call now Tony Beanie. Sorry, Tony, it highlights this. But it's just interesting seeing it on paper. That's all this is. Garment of the week once. But as we've said, Tony Beanie probably came second many, many times when you look at the stats closely. So you could say when we're going into the final, these three fabulous sewers, on paper, Asma looks the strongest sewer. But you can't do it just like that, can you? Because as we know, you just have a bad week. You mess a couple of skills up and you could just be out, can't you? So there are so many other factors that play, aren't there?
Yes. Stuart, on another note, I got a note in the chat that said some of the viewers can't read the stats. So
is it a bit
it's good
small?
That you,
yeah,
it's good. One viewer called Natasha. So if we just read them out for Natasha, so she could.
Yeah, let's see if I can. I might even be able to make it bigger as well.
Get the scores.
Yeah. I say we're in no rush. Can I make it bigger? I can do that, I think.
But it is amazing how the tally that Asma has won in all categories, isn't it? It's no wonder she ended up.
No, I can't make it bigger live. But yes, Asma, for Natasha, was it? Asma got 5 pattern challenge wins, transformation challenges 3, garment of the week 3. Mia didn't win any pattern challenges other than this week. So actually, yes, one for Mia, 1 transformation round win, and 2 garment of the weeks. And then Tony Beanie didn't get any pattern challenge wins. I think he came second lots. Transformation challenge, no wins. Garment of the week 1. And we know which Tony Beanie got the garment of the week for, didn't we? Can you remember the scuba, the little kids week?
Yes.
Can you remember that one, Carol?
The little dress. Beautiful. Yeah. Yes, I remember, because I remember even Esme commenting on the bow and the use of scuba, which, although it was, a solid color, that the sculpture of it was so effective. And I think there was a line of rhinestones around the neckline, wasn't there?
That's right.
So it was an enchanting little party dress, and that got a lot of attention. We love Tony's work because he's such an engineer, naturally, and he sticks to his style, doesn't he? It's the camo, it's the pockets, it's all that detail, and it's fun. He has a great use of color. Yeah. I know that little dress was white, but he, all the other times he just knits color together so beautifully.
I think maybe, I don't know, there's something about this season more than others. I do get attached to 1 or 2 sewers, but for this year, I just feel like I've been attached to all 12 right from the start. But certainly as the weeks have gone on, really attached. And these 3, their personalities have developed so much, haven't they? And then seeing in the final, still seeing with Made to Measure their personalities coming through those 2-in-1 dresses. It's just wonderful to see, isn't it?
Oh, it is. And I think what we ended up with, the three finalists, they all had this sense of calm about them. And not
Yeah.
nonchalance, but almost, oh, well, this is all, it's all going to be good fun. And if it's not good fun, why am I here? And they were
Yes.
all very
Yeah.
chilled workers. I think the three of them had that in common. And so that carried them through. They gave them the stamina. They were just relaxed about it, or seemed to be relaxed. Let's put it that way.
Oh, it's absolutely that. The final, Mia is just chilled anyway. That's just, yeah, I'm going sewing.
Hmm.
Yeah. And she's got
Hmm.
no worries,
Hmm.
no troubles at all. And we know Tony with his high five. You're right, mate. Yeah, great. And Asma, even while they're sewing, oh, do you want to? Yeah, she's chatting away to Tony and me. Yes, there is something.
Yep.
I think those three will probably be going on and doing lots of things together, socially as
Oh,
well.
no question. No
Yeah.
question. Yes.
Sorry to put you on the spot with this, Carol. Did you have a favourite going into the final? Me with Lizzie. That was now obviously
Yeah.
long gone. Did you have a favourite, or did you? Obviously, any of them could have won it, but did you think, oh yes, I would really like?
Yeah. It was like from about week 3, I thought I sensed that Asma had the refinement in her hands. She knew how to handle the machine. She had great ideas. And I thought she had the polish of a winner. It was Tony who really got my attention. You know that, and
Yeah,
I really thought that there was something very playful about the way he worked and the way he put things together. He had a very practical view of things, and he made some really special garments. I didn't know how often he came in second. You've just pointed that out. That comes at no surprise, but I'm not surprised he was in the final. And I
yeah,
thought that he really had a chance to maybe edge the other two away. Um, they were all fantastic at
yeah,
the end. But I thought Tony did challenge himself, and I thought that Mia at many times had a very practical way out of things. Her sewing was beautiful, especially for someone who hadn't been sewing that long. But yet she had crochet skills. She had other skills to, help her understand technique. When she did
yeah.
that lovely Chanel piece.
Oh,
Um, but no, it was it
yeah,
it was Esma from the start. It was
yeah,
just there was a cleanliness about everything she did, and she just, like I said, we were always applauding her
yeah,
because she came in first,
yeah.
and that was consistent throughout the whole of this series. So it's I thought, well, she'll win
Yeah,
unless she has a bad week, and she never had a bad week.
yeah. Yeah, this is interesting here. Everby, always commenting on our videos. Asma came first or second in every pattern challenge this year. Remarkable achievement in itself. I didn't even spot
Yeah,
that. That's a stat and a half.
yeah.
Wow.
That is.
Yeah,
Yes, absolutely. So that's her ability to take a plan, read it, understand it, get
yeah,
on with it, and really make everything
yeah.
work out,
Uh,
and
Charlotte says, I love how all the finalists were so calm, was what we were saying as well, under pressure,
yeah.
and kept their own sense of style. But listen to this. B says, you know that all aspiring contestants have to get through a psychological assessment to select for calm temperaments and would not be too upset being continuously being
Oh,
filmed. Wow, didn't know that. But yes, it makes sense, doesn't it, actually? Really?
yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, the red light's on, and that
Yes.
is unnerving. I would find that difficult. You
Yeah.
know,
Oh,
if somebody was over my shoulder constantly, for 10 weeks, that's
well,
I
that
li
would
I
throw me
like
off.
my pri
And
it's
that's
just,
where
well, it
we
would. Yeah,
marvel.
absolutely.
Marvel them.
Yeah, yeah.
Right,
Hmm.
well, let's go
It
for it. Shall we
only
go? Go on.
No, no, I was just going to say it only takes one thing to get your
Yeah,
attention off track. And if you have Sarah coming in and asking you a question, or the judges walking by
yeah,
with that
yeah,
downward look, it only takes one thing to throw you off your focus, your flow. So they did ever so well.
oh,
I marvel at how well they did.
yeah. Okay,
Okay, off we go.
we're going to talk through the three challenges. Viewers, I know many of you tune into All Gathered Up for Carol and for specific techniques. Please drop in your questions if you have a specific question for Carol, and she'll do her best to answer. You do that by, and I don't know whether if Mike's already done it, put a cue at the beginning of your question, and I'm going to go like this. I have a question for Carol. So you can see my message there. If you put Q at the beginning, I can then search for it, and it will bring up all the questions. So I've just put a Q, and nothing's come up other than mine, if that's right. Let's do that. Oh, yes. So if you do have a question, like I'm going to have a question in a little while about French darts, because that was new for me. We just pop them in, and I can then see them, and I can drop them in wherever we can, or at the end. As I say, we aim for an hour show, but if it goes over, it's chilled. There's no deadline. You're right to go till 10:30 at the latest, aren't you, Carol? If we need it.
No problem. No chance. My bartender will have to cooperate with me. But I've got no problem.
I think I'll need a swig of water in a minute. Okay, right. Let's go for it. The pattern challenge then. And let's get the pictures up. So they had to create a... let's go to my page in my book as well, where everything is written down. So there we go. It's the Victoriana dress. But Esme said you have to create an evening dress for a special occasion. They've called it the Victoriana dress. I've never heard of this name. Is it a specific name that you're familiar with, or is it a specific style that you're familiar with, Carol?
Well, I've never heard of it, but I just thought, oh, this is, in the era of the Victorian era, this looks like something from that era. It's new. It's not a showy dress. The neckline is quite high. The arms are covered. It's long in length, and it's got that flounce and the ruffle of that era. So it makes sense, doesn't it? The details on this are quite small. 2 small ruffles on the hem of the arm, and then small ruffle at the bottom. So not a huge amount of detail, but it reflects the style details of the Victorian era, and it covers the body more or less, which was what was going on then.
Yes, decent. Yes, proper. Not showing any flesh. Yeah,
that's it.
Which is interesting for a glamour dress for the red carpet, because the idea of, we've talked about this before, showing flesh is that glamorous, but obviously it goes against that whole point of the Victorian dress, isn't it?
Yes, because there's nothing daring about this dress.
No.
And everything about it is, even the flounce is understated. But I think therein lies that was the challenge, because these are tiny little ruffles, a tiny little ruffle on top of another tiny little ruffle, and getting them, both gathered up, and getting that neatness. But because it's a small amount of fabric to contend with, it's going to be a bit fiddly. And then the puffy sleeve with the netting underneath, that's not difficult. You just take a bit of netting, pleat it up, and just add it into the seam line. That's not a problem. But what is helpful about that is it helps the sleeve to stand away at the crown, the shoulder line. So it just gives it a bit of horizontal kind of poof.
This is interesting. I didn't know this. Sewing in Snakes says it's not a name, the Victoriana. It's because the BBC can't say the Vampire's Wife. Oh, so is the Vampire's Wife a specific style then? Sewing in Snakes, is that modern literature or film that I'm unaware of? Let us know.
I'm unaware of it as well.
We're not hip enough watching whether it's
modern oldie.
Yeah. So there's the model that they gave us, that was obviously what they are aspiring to. The hardest part there would be then the ruffles, really, or the type of fabric.
Yeah. 2 things. This French dart, which is a long dart, goes from the bust point on a slant, on a diagonal, down into the waist.
Oh, right.
Or in that area of the waist. So it's a long dart, and it's on the bias of the fabric. So you know, the bodice is cut on the straight of the grain, and that dart is on an angle, which is then sewn on the most tricky, fluid, flexible, stretchy parts of the fabric.
Let's see if I can
So
get a
it's got to
close-up.
be controlled.
Let's get a close-up. I think we've got a close-up of Mia's there. There you go.
Yeah. So now somebody has asked a question, just said, is there any particular technique that you were surprised that they did well? And I would say this is one of them, the way they managed that French dart. So if you look at and see, it points to the bust. You know, it points a long way.
Yeah.
It's not parallel to the floor and disappears into the side seam. This is a dart, clear, and you can see it, and it goes a long way down to the waist. So to answer that question, I think this is one technique, is how to handle a bias dart. And I think all sewers did a really good job on that.
Yeah, well, let's go to Tony's close-up. We'll talk about that later. Have I got a close-up of, no, it's only Asma's, I think it was her main one, but you can't, no, I haven't got a close-up of the bust there. It was just Mia's, I'm afraid. But they all did it well.
Yes, they all did it well. So, and it was well suited to the mannequin, you know, because you can see how the beautiful definition you get.
Yeah.
Because the dart, you know, it narrows out at the bust point, but then you're taking in a lot of fabric, so you're really sculpting into the rib cage. You know, so you get that lovely definition on the bust line, because it's a deep dart as well.
It is. It's going low, isn't it?
It's not a tiny dart. It's deep. There's a big cutaway in it. I remember if we could go back to where they show you all the pieces, then you'd see the shape of the bodice, and you'd see how much fabric is coming out of that dart. But I think as long as explanation I'm talking about, that there's a lot of fabric coming out of that dart. Does that make sense, Stuart?
Yeah, Leah's got
the V shape. The V shape is a large V that's coming out. It's not a hairpin dart.
Oh no, I get you.
Small
yes,
V.
yeah. Leah says, looks to me that the French dart goes beyond the apex. Is that intentional?
It should go right to the bust point. Now, it's possible that when they're going out a little bit, don't tape right to the end of the dart. If you run on 3 or 4 stitches, which is easy to do, then you're going to go past the apex. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
if you continue sewing your dart past the point that should stop, and if you 3 or 4 extra stitches, then you're going to go past the apex, and it's going to on this mannequin, and that's a good made.
Everbee says, any tips? Can I get on there? I know we're stuttering a bit there. Sorry, viewers. Any tips on avoiding pointy French darts at the apex? Or is it supposed to be pointy?
Yes. It's supposed to point. It gives definition because it's such a deep dart. So if you just think of a piece of a pie, this French dart is a larger piece of pie. The V is much bigger. Now that's one thing that we'll talk about in one of the Masterclass pilots. We'll go into the different kinds of darts and how to keep them very smooth at the end.
Brilliant. We've got more information about that coming up later. Let's do one last one on this before we move on to look at the other pictures. Is the French dart used a lot in modern fashion? Margaret says.
I think it's woven in here and there. It's in manufacturing. It's a more difficult dart to get clean, and it takes more fabric. So if in this era of, you know, minimizing and controlling margins and using less cloth and having lower production prices, they don't tend to use it as much because of those reasons. It's trickier to, for the machinist.
Yeah.
Takes a bit longer, and it uses more cloth. So,
right.
but in higher couture, yes, and you can see how beautifully it sculptures.
Oh,
So
absolutely. Yeah.
Mhm.
Let's go to the group shot so you can see everyone. Let's take that one off. My buttons work differently here. There's Asma's. Oh, that's gone now. There we are. So there's all three of them. What did you feel when Tony, Beanie, and Asma went towards that gold lame? Because to me, that gold, I've used that gold lame in pantomimes, in the many dames dresses that we've done in my time teaching, and I bought it quite cheaply, and I know it frays. So did you go, no, don't choose that, or did you think it? I don't know whether you can get gold lame and silver lame of a higher quality. I don't know whether that exists or not. So what did you think of that fabric choice?
So when I first saw the fabric and I saw them, handling it, and it didn't seem to be a fabric that frayed at that point. We just saw a little clip of it, but I knew that you can get different grades of lame.
Right.
And some of it, you can get jersey lame, you can get woven lame, you can get sort of painted lame. They're all different. But I want to point something out here about the ruffles. If you look at the ruffles, you can see that there's something awkward about the lame ruffles compared to Mia's finished ruffle. Now, I'm not sure how they were asked to cut those ruffles, whether it was on the straight of the grain or the cross grain. Now, this cheaper lame, I'm going to, you know what I mean by cheaper. It's just, it's you look at it and it explodes. Okay,
Yes.
It's not a trustworthy fabric.
Yeah.
So if they had to cut these ruffles on the cross grain, so that the hem of the ruffle is parallel to the the perpendicular edge, the cross grain edge, not the salvage edge, but the cross grain. It's going to be so tricky to handle. You can't even overlock it, because when you overlock it, the whole of the overlock will come away. So what I tend to do if I've got a tricky fabric like that, and you can see how perky the ruffles are. They're kind of fighting the flow, the vertical flow of the dress. Yeah. I would cut the ruffle on the straight of the grain. So that means you're not going to get that raveling on the upper and the lower edge. And also it'll gather easily. And most fabrics will behave better if you cut the ruffle on the straight of the grain. If they could have done that, they would have no trouble at all. They would have had a problem with the hem of the dress when they attached the ruffle, because the hem of the dress would have been the fray bit. But maybe one trick they could have used would be to hand overcast it very quickly at the seam allowance, so a centimeter. So instead of overlocking it with a 1/4 of an inch overlock, they could have hand overcast it very quickly with a quick spiral stitch, which would have kept everything intact. So this is sad to see that, because it's good fabric, it speaks well, it's got that opulence and that evening dress, that cocktail effect, but the whole thing's let down because the weave of the fabric is so unstable, and it frays so easily. So this was a bit heartbreaking, because it didn't have to happen, and then there was some other complications with. See, when you're gathering a ruffle like that, and the weave is such that it fights you, then you get ruffles that look like that. Mia didn't have that problem. And I can see it a mile away here from your picture, that Mia's fabric just gathered easier.
Yeah.
It fell into place. But it's nothing but disaster waiting to happen to try to gather those ruffles in if they were cut on the cross grain.
Well, let's just look at Tony's arms ruffles. Sorry, Tony. Oh, you just feel for him when
just a mess. This happens. It's, and he knows what he's doing. He's a
Yeah.
good technician.
Yeah.
The only problem here is the fabric just
Yeah.
fought. It fought because of the weave of that cloth, but well done for getting that far with it, because they both had their issues
Oh.
with it.
Yeah. Natasha says, what's the difference between a rolled hem and an overlocked hem?
Okay, so an overlocked hem, you just feed it through the machine. There's
The
a
overlocker.
knife blade that the overlocker, or the serger. Some people call it the serger, the overlocker. Now you can adjust the width of your hem stitch. You can adjust it from anywhere from a small 1/8 of an inch to a big 1/4 of an inch. And you can use 4 or sometimes 5 spools in an overlocker. So you get different finishes.
Okay.
A rolled hem, and it's flat. It's done flat on an overlocker.
Right.
So you just feed the fabric in. The fabric, nothing happens to it. It stays flat and the edge is applied. In a rolled hem, you are rolling it. Like you roll anything.
Oh, right.
If you were to put fabric on the end of a pencil and roll
Yeah.
it, and then take the pencil away,
So the
and then
overlocked hem
secure
is
that.
the overlocked hem is just a raw overlocked hem. You're just shoving it through the overlocker.
Flat. Yeah,
So
that's it.
yeah,
You're
it's not
applying
very
the
pretty though, is it?
finished. Well, it can be. Now, there's some very interesting machines that put a very tiny overlocked hem, and you see that in some of the as a couture finish.
Right.
Some bridal veils are. They have a baby lock on it. I think they call it a baby overlock.
Oh, right. Yeah.
But it's very tight, and it's very tight together. And you picture, if you use a zigzag on your machine and you choose a narrow zigzag and the length just as tight as you can get it, so that you don't really see the separation of stitches. And you could do the same thing with an overlock.
Okay. We had, I know this has come up before. Let's look at Asma's, the long from the front. Oh no, that's the arm. We know that was stunning. But we had Patrick saying again, the devil of the bouncy seam has reoccurred.
So you can avoid this by just, I suppose, pinning your 2 pieces of fabric together that you're going to seam. Pin them on a flat surface. When you're pinning in the air, it's very easy to feed a little bit more in than you would otherwise do on a flat surface. If you have the time, which they don't, you can also loosely baste it. You got to make sure too that if you're cutting singly, so if you're cutting one back at a time, that those 2 backs have to be even, and that makes sense. And the other thing is to just let the machine take the fabric through on its own. When you finish the seam, if you get one side that's a 1/4 of an inch longer, because it's not been cut even, that's all right. But just an observation about Asma's sewing, which I noticed. I mean, her finish is beautiful, but she does tend to have this bouncy seam, and I noticed that she does pull the fabric from the back of the machine.
I've seen a couple of other sews do that too. Yes, their spare hand. Are they worried that it's not, the feed dogs aren't going to work properly? Is that why, do you think? So it's just safety to pull it?
I don't. That's always something that I teach people not to do. Not ever to do that. Don't pull it from the back. Just let the machine do the work. You don't have to help it out the other side. And sometimes you can get a rhythmic bounce in your seam by doing that.
Oh, so actually, if you were to analyze, it's annoying my pen's run out of batteries. If you were to analyze those bounces, there's probably a rhythmical equalness to them of perhaps where the hand has gone to pull, hand's gone to pull, hand's gone to pull then.
Yes, because you're stretching it when you pull it. And I've seen that on some of Asma's longer outside seams. I have seen that. And then I saw that specifically when she was sewing this dress. I saw her left hand really, work at getting that fabric out the other side.
Yeah. Let's
But
have a
that's just my observation.
no, and let's just have a look. Look at that though. So you've got the difference there, and this is where I think, didn't she do something different? She did something first. She did it out of sync, did she, to prepare to, so it was easier to do. So she
Yes.
didn't then end up with that.
Yeah. Asma was attempting to gather her ruffles up, and then it was raveling. She was getting all that furriness, sticking out of the ruffles. So she said, I'm going to stop that. And I think she said, I'm going to cut another one, and I'm going to overlock the whole thing.
Yes.
And then I'm going to set it in. Yeah.
Before we move on, because that's near the end, Practical Stitcher says, Carol, would you have doubled the ruffle layer to avoid the serged edging?
That's not a bad idea. So you've got a nice clean edge, but then you're going to be putting 4 layers of fabric in to the bottom of the sleeve. That might not be an issue at all. No, I think that's a good idea.
Love it.
Yes, I'd try that. It's a lot less work.
Yeah.
It's less work and it's a cleaner edge. So why not?
Well, there we are. My pen's working again. So we had Mia coming first, though it's not showing on the screen. Oh, I didn't just love technology. Right, it's because that's that. There. Mia.
There we go. I can see that.
Yeah, we're there. Asma came second, and Tony third. So now we're like thinking, because there was like Asma saying yes, confident with this. Now Mia's first. Asma fans are now panicking a bit. They're like, "Oh, is Mia going to come up from the inside and take it?"
I think they're thinking, well, Asma's got this sewn up anyway. But if the next challenge goes in Mia's favor, then we're going to have an interesting situation at the end. Yeah.
Let's look at the transformation challenge. Oh, let's delete that. So the transformation challenge, let's get the picture and let's get the groups. Here they are. So the transformation challenge, which we've chatted on Unpicked, was a bit confusing for me and for many of the viewers, because they pulled out this, and their words were to create... Patrick rightly so commented on this opulence in menswear, this sort of Regency look. But the brief was to create an exciting, fun outfit that must fit the male mannequin. So we've got to bear in mind the exciting and fun element, but also that they've got to transform some garments into this dandy sort of Regency period. But they were giving them these clothes. So I think we all got a bit muddled. They were showing the shirt and the trousers. Yet then on the garments, when they were going through, they had lots of good. So I don't know whether they were trying to transform this look into something more exciting or fun, but there we are. So we ended up the sewers probably knew better. We ended up with this selection. Fine and dandy is opulent menswear there in one extreme to the other. What did you think?
Totally. I mean, such different interpretations of this.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, the Regency period is a suit. It's a bit overblown with detail, but it basically it's about wrapping your neck up, with a stock and lots of cravatness and flounce and lace and.
Well, that's all there, isn't it?
That's the dandy bit. Yeah. So to me, when I saw these three, I thought, well, Tony's got this nailed. He's built a 2-piece suit. It's fun, no doubt about that. And he's made it modern, but he hasn't forgotten the cravat. So to me, that's what I was looking for, and I loved it. I loved the furry bits on the end of the sleeves, because that was, that's taking it into this, this very modern stage wear, where the other two, I didn't get either of the other ones really. The Asma's was so asymmetrical that I didn't see it. I just couldn't see that what was going on there at all. I'm searching for words because I just can't describe it. And then Mia's offering was um, not reflective of the period, and shorts. So it, to me, that wasn't a suit, but I think Tony nailed it, and for me
Yeah.
that was the best
Well,
following of the brief.
let's have a
Yeah.
close-up look of them all there. Well, when you think about it, let's go back to the brief. And as always, you know, the ex-teacher and me, we come back to the brief. What are you being assessed on? What's your assessment criteria? Not that one. This one. There's the model, shirt and trousers, and there's Tony's shirt and trousers.
Yeah.
It's the suit, as you
Done.
said, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
A dandy, glamorous regent, exciting and fun outfit. Well, it's fun for
Yeah.
sure. Look at those go days at the bottom.
Yeah, I know. So he tied the colors in together, and there's nothing like pink and gold, and then that set off with that dazzling, that black as an anchor. The whole thing it just works so well color wise, and I mean, look at how it's proportioned. The top and the tail with the pink, and the bit of fur which kind of came out of the black, so it didn't really stick out too much. It was kind of, you know, lost in the trouser a little bit, but it just added that extra flounce. It was
Yes, maybe he
mischievous in a way,
yes. But yes, you could have had pink on the bottom there. Leah says, I love Tony's comment about non-conforming to gender stereotypes. Now, Tony tried the trousers on a couple of times. Yes, it was wonderful to see his thought processes here. Look at that fabulous collar. I'd want to get that collar up like this and be like Ming the Merciless. Right, let's have a close look at Mia's. And it must have been hard for Mia because, do you know, young age, the idea of Regency period or dandy, and even the people Patrick was. Well, I didn't know the people who Patrick was referencing. So I wouldn't have had a clue. I only know a little bit of the Regency period from Blackadder. First, is it? I don't know.
Yeah,
with what's his name as
know.
The King Regent being all fine and dandy and fluffy.
Yeah,
but it must have been hard for her. So you can see that perhaps
and
reflected.
Maybe she was thinking. Yeah, maybe she was thinking Harry Styles, because I think that name came up. Did it?
Oh yes, he did. Yes,
so,
good point.
So maybe she was thinking just this wacky stage outfit, but it's a little bit thin. It's a little bit fragile. The whole concept.
And let's let's look at Asma's there. Well, it reminded me, because I was a big 80s fan, obviously, and Adamant, that I could imagine Adamant coming on with this and being Prince Charming, which in a way is some links there, references there to that period.
Okay. I mean, it's full of imagination,
Yeah.
and I love the asymmetry about it, and the flock netting as well. But just well.
I know what you mean.
There you are. See, it just shows you how different. Once you start draping a mannequin, the things start to happen, and you think, I think I'll go here, I'll go there. It needs a bit more of this, and I mean, I can see her trying to balance it, all along the way, and I'm not sure at what point that bow on the hip, emerged, but just down to earth, full of imagination, no doubt.
We lost you a bit there, but then we suddenly got you at full imagination. So, right, let's go back to the group picture and give you the scores if my pen is working. So Asma came first, Tony second, and then Mia third on that one. So it's now leveled up, hasn't it? It's, Asma and Mia have all won one. And we then go into this made-to-measure round, which for a garment, for anyone to make, was going to be phenomenal, really. A 2-in-1 dress. Now, as I said on the other show, this reminds me of putting on shows like Cinderella, where you need Cinderella to have a quick change. And you can either do it classically and bring on like a UV scene where the carriage gets built in UV lights and the pumpkin flies across and then the mouse flies across. And whilst that scene is happening, Cinderella is getting changed into a quick change into a phenomenal ball dress. Or you do it like some I've done before with a production. She gets changed ultimately quickly because she's wearing a 2-in-1 dress. So she goes from her rags, pick, boom, and suddenly with a flash of light, wow, she's changed. So it's a phenomenal feat of engineering. These patterns aren't going to exist, are they, Carol? They've got to engineer this.
They've got to engineer them, but there is a way around these things, and it once you understand it, it is quite straightforward, I think. But it just looks amazing. You know, when it's unfurled, and you just think, how on earth does that happen? You know, and and I've got some comments as we go through them, because it's the trick is what's inside. I mean, if it's totally two different dresses, then that dress that's on the inside has to be made of very featherweight cloth. The engineering has to be very closed. You can't have too much bulk, or the outside dress doesn't fall nicely. So they all three of them had different approaches, didn't they?
Yes.
But
each one, my mind was blown. I still can't get over it. Each one. Well, let's have a look. Let's go through them. We'll show the front and the back. We'll go through alphabetical order, as it is the fairest. So that's Asma's front, or before, should I say? There we go. So their brief was, as I said, it has to transform on the catwalk, so in seconds. And Asma had this jersey shift dress, which would then pop
this
at the
worked
shoulders.
really well. Yes, so it released via the shoulder, and there was a bit of a wraparound from the back to front. So this jersey held everything in underneath. A beautiful combination, because this is stretchy and it fits close, and it hides what's inside. And you've got a bit of blouson on the top, so it looks like a tucked in easy top over a pencil skirt. So really, this outfit looks terrific just as it is. It really does blow your mind, you know, the way she achieved this A-line ball gown underneath with a long tie in the back.
Well, let's go to that one then. So the after here, so she pops it, and then boom, it drops down, and then suddenly this green emerges.
But you see how contained the bodice is. It's very close to the body. And the fabric is so featherweight that it's kind of like, you know, the burrito method of putting of sewing a yoke. Think of that, right? Think of that, just that idea. I mean, it's not made the same, but inside, quite a small area is rolled up another length of cloth that is going past the knee, which is where the first dress ends, and it's growing in girth, but it's going to go to the floor. So there's a lot more fabric in there. And then in the back of this, you've also got the tie. But if the fabric is light enough, easy enough to wear, it just rolls up into nothing. And then you see here again, simple bodice back that just ties, and then elastic. I think she's got elastic at the back of the waist there, so that's going to give it some stability. But this one was just knocked it out of the park, as they say.
Absolutely.
Just
I think
so
when we all saw it,
dazzling.
it was just. It's the kind of thing that I would want to. I'm turning up to a nightclub or somewhere, red carpet, and I want to purposely. Hang on, and then just do it there and then, because everyone would then, when you release it, you would just then go, because how did she engineer the unfurling? Or was that just a happy accident when it's all packed up and tucked in? Because when you watched it unfurl, it just had like a helter-skelter feel to it. Is that
Yeah,
engineered or was that just luck?
I don't know, because I watched it once and I thought there was a spiral effect to the way it
Absolutely. It
unfurled.
was. It was
And I wondered
phenomenal.
if the back wrapped around, if it had a because well because it had an elastic waist in the back. I wondered if there was a lot of fabric in that. So in order to pack it, maybe it did have to spiral in itself, or maybe that just, at the end, the time is not on your side.
Yeah.
You just stuff things in
Stuff it
however they
in.
fit.
Well,
and off you go.
either way was phenomenal, and the messages here say it. Asma's dress was amazing. Seeing it unfurl was that moment of magic that totally sold. Absolutely, Carol Ann, absolutely well put. Everbee says, in my honest opinion, Asma's made-to-measure dress is the best of the entire history of. I've not seen. I've only. I'm still catching up with the earlier ones. I've seen a couple, but I think I could say that. Yeah, Sewing and Snakes. The green dress is just perfection.
Totally agree. I mean, it's the best execution of any dress, much less the transformation dress, of any dress.
Yeah. I watched it back several times. We've got a treat for you later, a little video of it. Hopefully we won't get picked up with copyright. I'm sure they won't, because they know we're celebrating the ingeniousness of it. But yes, you watch it. If you didn't see it, you watch it spiral out. The back comes, the dress comes down first, and then the last thing is the satin of the bow, and it's just, phenomenal. Right, engineering, that's just amazing. Right, Mia. So there's Mia's before.
So it doesn't. It's a thicker dress, isn't it?
Yes.
It looks and it's got little straps on it, but it's got quite a lot of girth to it, doesn't it? So on this one, you think, oh yeah, there's something under there.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's something going on.
Yeah.
That's what you would say, isn't it? There, somewhere there.
Yeah.
And then you release it to this fabulous material. Again, a wonderful choice of fabric.
Yeah, I love the choice of pink and black. That works so well, really dazzling together. And the diamante straps, and it's just such a good idea. It didn't unfurl the way it should, and there was a problem, wasn't there, with the fastening at the waist, the side.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly.
The Velcro
something
didn't
went
have
wrong.
the time.
Yeah.
I haven't got a picture of that.
That was heartbreaking, because
wasn't it?
we've come to know Mia as this cool-headed, just very chilled, not rushing, and also I think one of the first left-handed seamstresses I've seen, because she had left-handed scissors.
Oh,
and
like
I don't
me.
remember.
I'm left-handed, Mia. Good on you.
Don't remember seeing too many left-handed. But so here's this personality that seems to just ride everything out coolly and calmly, and then all of a sudden this, on the last task of the series, and there she is in the final, and something goes really off-piste in a way that nobody would expect it. And how that happened, we don't know, do we? It seems to be the bodice was too tight-fitting, and even if they did advance the Velcro, because I think that was the problem, that there wouldn't have been enough wraparound anyway.
No.
For it to hold in
the black
place,
bits didn't meet, did it? No.
That's right. So she would have needed she could have got around that by just building a very quick extension and putting the Velcro on that. And then she could have just left that Velcro on where it was. But if she would have built a very fast extension, or even just sewed Velcro on and tried to get away with it. But then I think there was also the problem with the length when she unfurled it. I think the black dress was showing.
Yes, didn't account for it.
Pink dress. So something that we didn't expect. Nobody expected to see that, and that was a real heartbreak for Mia. And I
It's
think we all felt that.
Oh, absolutely, because we knew the levels of engineering needed for this garment was way more than any other challenge ever. It's not like just make an evening dress, is it? This is so I
No.
can't begin. So I think we felt the pain even more because it was almost there for a phenomenal make to have
Yes.
two
And
dresses
I
in one, and then just at the last minute. But weren't they lovely? I think someone
They were
said
lovely. And
on the other post on the other program, they said if those two could have said stop, we're having half an hour extra, please. We're overruling the producers. It looked like they were going to do it. It was wonderful, wonderful teamwork and coming together,
and
camaraderie.
we, yeah, and we've seen that before, where everybody stops what they're doing and they'll rush to help somebody because, something has just gone wrong. And it's that element of the red lights on and the time is against you. And
Yeah.
I think too on this one, do I remember right? They had extra time to cut the garments
Yes, they
out.
got 90 minutes
Okay.
beforehand, which is great. That's good.
Okay.
Good on the
And
producers for doing that. Yeah,
yeah, and sometimes, you can overcalculate. So they give you extra time
yeah.
and you use that time and you check and recheck you can miss the same mistake over and
Oh,
over again.
yeah,
Because they've given you extra time and your focus is on, you've got extra time.
yeah.
So this has to be right. And you can't make a mistake. They're giving you extra time. But that's when it happens. It's
Oh,
strange that when you're
uh,
given that grace period
yeah.
and then you miscalculate. So,
I can't even begin to think
damn.
what they do. I make mistakes silly here at home, but I haven't got crew over me, producers over me, or anything, or a time.
True.
That's where you just have to
Quite right.
remember what they've made. Right, let's move on. Finish with Tony Beanie. This looks a fun little number from here, doesn't it?
Hmm. Now, here is a different little black dress, and it fits really nicely, doesn't it? And
Yeah,
it's beautifully modeled. She's animating this
yeah,
lovely little LBD. And I don't know about you, but on this one, I was just waiting. What's going to happen?
yeah.
Because Tony and all his colorful antics and his interesting fabrics that he chooses, and his orange Crocs and his beanie with the pencils sticking out of it.
Yeah.
You think, what are we in store for now?
Well,
Well, I couldn't
and we
wait on
had
this one.
this. We had the hula to get it
Oh
down,
yeah.
and then it turns into
Hmm.
that. That's Tony
Such
fabric all
fun.
over, isn't it? Something different.
All over
I
the
know
place. Yeah, that's
they
him.
had to do something for the catwalk. Well, you can have this on the catwalk, can you? Not
Yeah,
the
why not? Why
stereotypical
not?
glitz glamour, it's just something different.
Yeah. Two completely different kinds of fabric, though. Um,
Yes.
maybe, maybe a bit too high of a contrast. I don't know. Um,
I think
not
so.
sure.
Would it have worked? Would it have
Uh,
even better if it was in
if
the
it,
similar
yeah,
fabric, or like Asma's? Should it have had? Would it have been even better with? Where are we? With a completely different color top to the reveal. So should that black have been covered
yes,
with something else? Would it have been even better?
yes. Or if there was some black in the print, just something to merge it together a bit more evenly, because it's like the bodice is black and the rest of the dress isn't, and it's not really, you know, well married up. If there was some black in the print or a black edge on bottom, or
Ah, yes, would
hmm,
have tied it all in so it wasn't a top bit and a bottom bit. Yeah,
that's what I'm thinking. Yeah. But having said that, it was completely successful. It was a lot of
yeah.
fun. It fulfilled the brief, and it was absolutely had Tony's thumbprint all over it.
Yes, which is what you want to do when you're sewing on a show like this. Your personality comes through, doesn't it? And uh,
Hmm.
that was sure there. So was it a case when we got to seeing Asma's made to measure? Did you just think, yeah, she's got it?
That's it. That's what I said. As soon as that unraveled, I thought, "There's our winner." There's no question.
Yeah.
Yeah, because everything she did was the best of the lot. You know, since show one, and she
Yeah,
was always, as you pointed out in the stats,
yeah,
she was always ahead of the pack in most every challenge, and
yeah.
she just is such a skilled worker and imagination. You know, she's got a very modern, very feminine approach to things. Um, which is
It,
just everything's pleasing to look at.
someone has, where have we just seen? In the comments here, which, well, this will be wonderful. And it won't surprise me if it does happen. Asma is talking about releasing a bra line for people who've had a mastectomy. Well,
Lovely, yeah. Hmm.
the work she
I've
does is
done,
phenomenal.
yeah, yes, and that's very rewarding work. I've
Yeah.
made a lot of lingerie for and people that are going to have prosthetics, and that's very rewarding work. And I wish Asma all the best on that. Mm.
But when we go back to the beginning of, we've always said this, the whole program and what the sewers do, those 12 sewers, we are still always in awe. And actually, this final, the three of them, there was something special about this final. I don't know whether, hopefully, they're going to be, well, there is going to be a season next year, so we'll be back, but there might be another one. Will this be a season where we'll always remember? Can you remember the final of Series 9? Asma, Mia, and Tony.
Mm.
Sometimes you only remember the winner, but will this be a series where we just go, those three were quite incredible?
I think all three were endearing to people in different ways, and I think this was one final where, you know, probably all three were favorites.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
I think I was willing Tony to win from very early on. Just because of the way he worked,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
but then it became clear that, you know, that the winner was going to be Asma. But then there was Mia, who was young and didn't have a lot of experience, and this seemed to just really jump right in, um, with all this enthusiasm, but yet the calm nature that she had as well.
Yeah.
And so any of them could have, you know, come
Absolutely.
out number one.
Yeah.
Mm.
It would just depending on what the challenges were, and does it suit you, does it fit, you know, and how you plan it. As we said before, they would have planned this way in advance. I think they do have to submit all 10 rounds regardless of where they get to, because they don't know where they're going to get to. So
Mm.
it is yeah, fascinating.
Mm.
Oh, here's some
I thought
interesting
these challenges were
go on.
I was going to say, Stuart, I thought these challenges were really a mark ahead, because we
Yeah.
had the trousers with no waist. You know, we had the
Yeah.
backpack. We had, you know, that lovely dragon outfit for the Children's
Yes,
Week, and the
absolutely.
transformation dress. So I think
Yeah.
these are challenges which were far beyond what we're used to seeing.
Yeah.
So that's
Yes.
another reason why this particular series was, you know, had more to it.
Yeah. And I agree. And I think many people will acknowledge that in the comments, won't you, commenters and viewers, that actually this series, in a way, and this is hats off to the producers, because I know it must be hard work planning and prepping everything. There was just some episodes and some challenges, you rightly say, that was perfect. Maybe if we could just a few tweaks of the transformation round, because I know that sometimes doesn't quite get it. But remember Africa Week, West Africa Week, and some of that
Oh
with the
yes,
guest
yeah,
judge. As you say, the
yes,
zero
yes.
waist trousers, that was inspired, and I think it's inspired many people. I wouldn't mind having a go at that. Yes, absolutely. Everbee says more nerds stats. Asma is the third Doctor and the fourth scientist to win the bee.
Wow, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
Whoa, who
What
would have
does that
thought?
say? What
Well,
can we read
that's
into
good to
that?
know. Yes, well, people that are very concerned with process and also getting things absolutely to the millimeter correct, because that's science, isn't it? It's
Ah,
not an
yes.
approximate game, isn't it? It has to be exact. So that makes sense.
And so, and just we're going to finish in 5 or 10 minutes. So let's just go through some of the comments here that we've got. Jane says, I liked Asma's Regency. Dramatic and weird gender binary. Yeah, I can see that. Mr.
Oh yeah.
Darcy and Elizabeth at a funeral. What she had to work with was so absolutely constrained. Yes, and that is the thing. It was interesting what garments they put on that rail. Absolutely fascinating, and what stuff they put in there. Sewing as Snake says, garment of the series for me was Mia's granny square suit. Yes, I know that was liked and talked about. Carol Ann says, I agree from episode 1, Asma's sewing skills stood out. Absolutely. It was the, just go through all my notes. It was what the cutout, wasn't it? The cutout, which you're going to see in a little while.
Painting with fabric.
Yeah. Oh, I love that expression. Yes. Yeah. Did you have a favourite garment over the series? Was it from Asma or was it in general? Can you remember back? Putting you on the spot now, Carol.
Yeah, there's just been so many.
Yeah.
No, I can't. I think I was pretty much. I think one thing about this particular series is it almost appeared that they were worried that the sewing bee was becoming samey, and they went all out this year to make it not like the other series, and that was accomplished in spades. I really liked Artists Week, and do you remember that very swirly canvas that Asma chose?
Yes.
And she made that top, and it looked like it was moving. The mannequin was moving, and like it had this butterfly type sculpture to it.
Yeah, it was. I remember that. Something here that we've often talked about, probably nearly every week. Charlotte says, talking to Jane, the time constraints mean that most of the time pressing is cut down or missed and it turns into a quick iron, which is a real shame. I agree. And we've often talked about the importance of pressing, haven't we?
We have. And if you press along the way, then you don't have that pressure of pressing the whole thing at the end, which could be a very awkward garment to get over the small ironing boards that they're given. And a lot of the fabrics that they're encouraged to use are evening, dazzling. They're tricky things to iron unless you have a Teflon plate on the sole plate of your iron, or you've got press cloths, or you know the heat settings to use. So it's, pressing is very important. We'll touch on that in the masterclass as well. It's how to press effectively. So when you're done with your garment, it really needs very little.
You're a pro, Carol. You must have sensed we're coming to the end, because let's go on to talk about the masterclasses. Loads of responses. Carol, you've been overwhelmed and so excited with the amount of people that have emailed, haven't you?
So many people are really eager to be a part of this. Some want to be participants. Others are saying, I'm not sure I want to do that. I'll just observe. And that's fine too. Absolutely. And you might find that we're going to do 3 pilots because we want to get the technical side of this right. And Stuart, you're going to be there. So if we have questions, we're going to be picking your brains, okay?
Yay!
Because you're going to be one of the participants. But so the first pilot is full for the participant side, but there's plenty of spaces for observing. And then we have a couple people that we're going to put into pilot number 2. So if you watch pilot number 1 and you think, oh, because none of this is going to be very difficult or challenging and nobody's going to be on the spot. We're all going to be working together on this, okay, to try to improve skills. And we're going to talk about planning and preparation. So things that you can do to help you speed up and things that you can do to help you practice to make your sewing a bit more fluid and easier. So do join in and sign up to be a participant in the 2nd or the 3rd pilot, okay? There's nothing to be worried about. Okay. It's going to be nice and easy, okay? So these are going to happen. We've got to schedule it yet. So we want to talk to each participant individually and find out when is the best, because we got people from all over the world wanting to join in. So we've got to work with the time zone now. So we'll be talking to people, and we think we're going to do this in the 3rd week of August, the 4th week of August, and the 1st week. These are weekends. So the the third weekend of August, the fourth weekend of August, and the first
Okay.
weekend of September. That's where we think we're headed with it.
Well, there we are. Just got to love the pen. I get carried away. So let's
Welcome
just
back, Pen.
recap. So for participants, it's the first pilot is full. If one of the participants wants to go for pilot 2 or pilot 3, should they re-email again or not worry because you've got their details already?
We've got the details already. It wouldn't hurt because this is a bit of a trial. So we're trying to keep track of a lot of people. So do press us, okay? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Write in again. We're not going to forget anyone, and we'll be very careful how we schedule it, but it won't hurt for you to write in again with your comments, things you'd like to see, and if you want to stay in as a participant, I think, please email again.
I think people completely understand that. You're doing this still, pilot. This is all free. So we're working it out. We're trying something new of where it could develop. I think people will respect that and we'll do that. But as you can see there, for the observer point of view, still some spaces left. So if it's something you're interested in where you just sit back and watch, you can ask questions, but it's mostly watching this masterclass take place in front of you. So that might suit someone more than actually doing it. You can email. There it is. There. My pen is running out of battery, so where I choose to write, it doesn't show it in the right place. Oh dear. So email masterclass@ineverlearnedtosew.com. And then just bear with us because, as I say, it's all happening as we speak. Exciting. If you have any questions, just email that address anyway. You know us. You know Carol. Many times I've probably asked the same question, or I've WhatsApped her saying, "How do I do this?" and she's probably told me 5 times. Never once she lose a temper with me. Stuart, I've told you this before.
Oh no,
that's not in your nature. Not in your nature
no,
at all.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Oh well,
not
there we are. Well, viewers, how do we sum up that series? Hey, we have a wonderful winner of asthma. Unbelievable end. What an outfit to end on. And we've been doing it for 10 weeks. Where have they gone?
Very fast. Swiftly gone. But congratulations to everybody.
Oh, absolutely. What's behind you there, Carol? We haven't talked about that. What have you got there?
This is the next thing. So this is a Dupion dress. It's a day dress, but I'm going to overlay it with this fabric. And so this fabric is just hanging up so that I can...
Oh, wowzers. Show us more. Bring it forward.
So if I know, let's try to get this.
Oh, you know me and sheer. So I like a bit of sheer.
There you go. So you see, can you see that it's sheer? There, okay. So this is going to go over the Dupion and the blue is going to come through. But I'm looking at it for a couple of days just to make sure that I know which is up and which is down in the pattern. So
good plan.
It's revealed this rose pattern. Yeah. So you can see the rose and then the stem goes down. So I know this is the top and this is going to be the bottom. So sometimes you have to just hang the fabric up and look at it for a while before you know how you want to lay your pattern pieces out. What's going to be the top and what's going to be the hem. So that's what I'm working on this next week. I think I'll take tomorrow off.
Absolutely. Yes. Oh, I love it. I do love it. And viewers, you're being so lovely with your comments. They're rocking in now as we speak. Carol says, let's move that up here so we can see. This has been great fun. I can't wait for the masterclass series.
Good.
And Oh, and sewing at snakes. What you say here? I'm an open uni student, and we use it for lectures. Oh, have I missed something there? That's fascinating. Oh, you're talking about
Oh,
something else. Well,
interesting.
still lovely.
All right. Okay.
Charlotte, thank you, Carol and Stuart, and yes, Mike in the background there on the special camera when the internet worked. Oh, Natasha, before we go, says, "What is Dupion?"
Ah, it's a weave of silk, and it's a slubby weave, and
Oh,
it's kind of a, yeah, stickier cloth,
yeah.
and it's silk, and it dyes beautifully, Natasha. So and it has a natural iridescence to it, and
Ah,
it gathers lovely, it sculptures beautifully, and it's a wonderful fabric to work with, and it's not as expensive as other fabrics that
right.
have the exact same properties. So it's a lovely fabric to use for um, party wear and couture projects.
And as our wonderful viewers do, they join in too. So Carol Ann has said the same thing, a type of silk. And then Natasha says, thanks, Carol Ann. See, that's what it is. James, who's,
Very nice.
remember, the antiquities. I
Yes.
can't remember. Is that one with the New Zealand?
Yep.
Thank you, Stuart and Carol, for a wonderful series. Your on-screen rapport make for great viewing. Wow. Do you know? Well,
Well,
yes.
we hope to see James in the master classes, if not a participant observer. Come on, James.
I don't think he's got
Sign
the
up.
sewing machine out for years. I think, is that right, James? You're a big knitter, but I think he's got to dig it out. But actually, this is a really, really lovely message. B, beautifully put. The final three show three different age groups, different gender and experience united by a common love of sewing. Wow.
Oh, that's
That is, yeah.
that's a lovely, lovely turn of phrase. Thank you for that.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone. If you haven't watched the Unpicked show, then you've got a real treat for you here. If you have watched the Unpicked show, you're going to see it twice. We're going to sign off and say goodbye now, and we're going to leave you with a minute's worth of Asma incredible makes over the series. All 30 makes of Asma are going to come up right now in a little montage. And yes, keep watching because you're going to see the unfurl magic right at the end. So you can keep rewinding it if you want to. And hopefully copyright won't tell us off. We'll see. It's been a pleasure. It's been a wonderful 10 weeks. Carol, I can't wait for the masterclasses. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Have you?
Good. Absolutely, of every minute. And thank you, Stuart, for your wonderful technical help with everything and for putting this all together. And we're about to see a montage. What a special treat for us. And what a lovely homage to Asma, our winner.
Wonderful. Thanks, everyone, and see you next year for Series 10. Cheers. Bye-bye. Bye, everyone.